I've got some news for you.
Well, hit me with the news.
Futurism reported on the fact that Meta workers say that they're seeing disturbing things through users' smart glasses. Hmm. Subtitle here says in some videos, you can see someone going to the toilet or getting undressed. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. What? So, for anyone who might not be familiar, Meta has put out a product over the past couple of years here, I guess, where they've got these Ray-Ban collaborations, where they've got glasses, where you've got a camera and other functionality. I've never used them. Do you know exactly how it all works?
Yeah, I've seen them in use. They look at this point like regular glasses. Like they're quite inconspicuous. Like those like they look weird because he's weird. But on like other people, like they do look kind of just like normal glasses.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen them look a lot more normal than right there. But so yeah, it's smart glasses, smart technology, and essentially this week we've had some story kind of come out here about how there's some contractors, Meta contractors based in Nairobi, Kenya, told Swedish newspapers in a recently published investigation that they're being told to review highly sensitive and intimate data. Quote, in some videos, you can see someone going to the toilet or getting undressed. One contractor for a company called Sama said, I don't think they know because if they knew, they wouldn't be recording. Quote, I saw a video where a man puts the glasses on the bedside table and leaves the room. One data annotator told the newspapers, quote, shortly afterwards, his wife comes in and changes her clothes, end quote. So, some more quotes. You understand that it's someone's private life that you're looking at, but at the same time, you're just expected to carry out the work. You're not supposed to question it. If you start asking questions,
Why are they
you
looking at
are
a
gone.
period?
So, I think that's the real question here, and definitely the thing that's coming into the limelight is like, what is going on here? Where this is even possible? Uh, how is this a part of the policy of the company? What exactly is going on here? Is kind of the big question.
I don't think we should want everything to be filmed all the time. I think that's a horrible precedent to be set. And I also think that like one example is my girlfriend got a camera for our cats, man, and like I didn't know it was there, and like it got me doing some crazy stuff on the camera. And she said, "Yeah." I was like, "Yo, what the hell? I didn't know I was being monitored in my own house." But yeah, no, with these glasses, it becomes an issue because when you're walking on the street, like you don't even know who has them, period. Which I guess if you leave your house, you kind of have to have the expectation that you're being filmed now, which is insane. But with those, like I also see a lot of people using them for content, which I think is kind of messed up because I guess I'm sure after they're getting approval most of the time, but the person is going through the interaction. Yeah, probably not. But the interaction is not given that precedent of like you're being recorded kind of thing.
Mhm.
So people are using that for a lot because it usually leads to more authentic interactions, which is
Right.
great if you're cool with that, but not when you have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever seen Black Mirror, here we are.
Hmm.
Um, just this idea of all of society being recorded, and if you really think about this, like, let's just be real. There's a clip that we definitely got to pull up, but just imagine what this enables, right? For anyone who wants to use this data in any other sort of a way. I mean, if you wanted to have mass surveillance of any sort, I mean, you've got people that are now
Sure.
paying you to do it, right?
Yeah.
You've got people who are paying you hundreds of dollars to do it for you. So the incentives here are very wild.
We
This
we
is
got
happening, right, in a way.
well. One thing we've been trying to repeat so many times is that we don't have to just like accept these things too, right? Like there are other options where like we can stop this. Like I think everyone's always like, oh, it's going this way. It has to be mass surveillance. It's like screw that shit. Like let's stop that. Like if we all don't want this, why don't we build a point to make that not happen? Which I would definitely like. Like the and I've seen some wins somewhere. Like I've seen people fight for speed cameras to be taken down and been successful in that at times, right? So I think that don't become complicit with something that you don't actually want. Because like I think the speed camera things are getting insane.
I mean, this one is definitely something that could go to the courts. Like, you as the user of this product, right, you're signing off, right? You're consenting to whatever it is. And unfortunately, that's how it works. What was there was something you sent me not too long ago where it's like if you were actually to sit down and read all of the different privacy statements and user agreements,
Oh,
it
bro,
would
you
take
do
like your whole
nothing.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, you would do nothing, dude. And they make you sign some pretty crazy stuff. I also think there needs to be some laws put into place for consumer protection in terms of like what can be put into an agreement.
Right.
Because I think that's fucking crazy that I can just say, oh, I want to throw it in there and you click the box. So now you can't sue me when you went to Disneyland. And did you hear about
Exactly.
that whole thing?
Yes, exactly. That's the example I was going to bring up. It's like there was some incident that happened in Disney World or Disneyland when someone something happened, but they had agreed to Disney Plus terms and of service, and because of whatever happened in Disneyland or whatever, they were not able to like sue them for what happened.
Did,
Crazy stuff.
did you see the whole Ring doorbell stuff on this point where like they're doing this like find your lost dog thing?
I saw that happening, but I never understood what actually was going on.
So basically, they're more or less going to say, like, we are going to look through your footage, but we're doing it to save the puppies.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. 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 Yeah, that was a moment here, just a couple weeks ago, but I didn't look into what the whole thing
Yeah.
was. Oh,
So
because
like,
someone lost. Oh, and it was also the Nancy Guthrie thing is where it kinda, like, clashed
Nancy
with it.
Guthrie.
Because there was this lady in America who's, like, think she's, like, an old news reporter, and she got, like, abducted, and
Oh
for
yeah, yeah,
weeks, they were
yeah.
trying to find her, and I think this was when it kinda, like, came up. They were like, "Oh, let's check the Ring cameras," or whatever, and I think this was kinda how that whole meme
Hmm.
started to
Totally,
percolate.
totally.
So there you go, folks. Just so you know, if these people around you are wearing these meta glasses, you might be being filmed, even if maybe they're not super aware of it. One of their spokespersons at Meta said, when live AI is being used, we process that media according to the Meta AI terms of service and privacy policy. Okay. So, you've got other people that are signing away your rights at the moment. And that's fascinating. So,
It seems like the world needs new social media platforms, Keith.
the world needs new platforms without a doubt.
And that's possible, guys. Like, well, for optimism point of view, is that if you really break down like why things are so messed up, a lot of it has to do with centralization. And so if we get to a point where you actually can decentralize things, things can get a lot less messed up.
Yes, and to touch on kind of some of how and why, the problem that comes up with a centralized company or any company, right, is that you've got the centralization of the actual the resources that are needed to make the product happen. Okay. So for instance, you can't really have Meta without the massive amount of data centers that they have or that they're using from Amazon or whatever. And so what happens is when you decentralize things is you can have a network of people that have made the investment to buy their own sort of data infrastructure, their data center infrastructure. And when you've got that happening at scale across different places, you get benefits from this. For one, now there's no central place of failure. If someone wanted to, for instance, what happened in the UAE, if someone bombs a data center, it's not going to cut off the entire service. Why? Because there's thousands of different choke points across the entire globe. So that's one benefit of decentralization, besides all of the other social things that come out of the fact that everyone else has to agree to use these systems the way that they've been designed to be used. And in that sense, it also creates a more of a democratic approach to how, in this case, software products get built, right? Because the people have to agree to run this software. They have to agree to the way that the software works. Otherwise, the mechanism won't spread. People won't want to do it.
Hmm.
So hopefully
No,
that
that
kind of
that
paints the picture a little bit.
thank you for doing that because I think that we assume a lot of knowledge too much, and so if I ever am doing that, please always chime in with that. And when you think about that, how many times have you guys heard of things being suppressed? Like, look at our episode that we had on Tuesday with someone who's dealt with a lot of that, right? Or people like losing access to their accounts entirely. That's a very frequent thing. That's becoming very, very big because people are kind of at the point where they're just going for it. They're kind of saying whatever at this point because the world is so messed up. And so these platforms are flexing their muscles, but I do think it is screwing themselves because a lot of times we talked about this recently where I was like, okay, and I said this, so I'll say it out loud. Like, whenever this happens and people get censored, they don't they go and try to build their own Patreon. They don't go try to build their own YouTube. I think that these
Right.
platforms have pushed people to where we're going to go try to build a YouTube. Do you know what I'm saying? And then that changes the dynamics completely because we've never in history had decentralized access to media. That's never happened.
Nope.
That's literally never happened. And I want you to actually, like, if you take something from this, like chew on this. We've never had that.
It's a fascinating concept.
Because you think about all these other, like, all platforms, or sorry, all problems come back to money and beliefs, right? The money is the system. We've talked about that a lot. We've got previous episodes. The beliefs are shaped from media and the influences on who I give access to said media. You open that up, it kind of happened on a small scale with TikTok. Because I have this theory that maybe it's kind of fucked up, but like I do think we're shaping our own reality, right? And so the enthusiasm that you come to with the problem makes it if you can or can't solve it. And so on TikTok, a lot of people who were really deep in something, they really wanted to solve it. They were willing to try anything. They tried everything and they found a solution. So because it meant so much to that person, they did anything they could. They moved heaven and earth to find the solution. And then they shared it publicly. So then because other people saw that it worked for them, they believed it could work for them too. And then the problem actually got solved.
Mm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
think that can happen at a far larger scale the more that media gets decentralized, is my whole thing.
If you're enjoying this, this was actually taken out of a piece of our live stream where we go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. If you want to see the full version of this episode, you can click the link in the description down below. But for now, back to the clip. Love it, man. Very well laid out. The one thing that is very centralized that's happening at the moment is the top-down decision being made in the United States to uh, pursue this war in Iran. At the moment, quick update on how all of that is going down. This right here is a visualization of how the traffic in the Strait of Hormuz has dried up since the war in Iran has begun. Now, to be clear, the U.S. struck Iran alongside of Israel, and an entire sort of war has broken out. Iran retaliated by sending missiles and drones across the entire Middle East region, and also started to block ships from coming through the Strait of Hormuz, which is where about 20% of all of the world's energy is moving through. So this visualization is going to show us uh, right here at the end of the visualization where it's kind of stopped to pretty much nothing going through, to where it's going to loop in just a second to show all of the activity that has been flowing through the Strait of Hormuz before all of this went down. Let's see. It's
It's
about
a
to
lot of
loop
cargo.
in just a bit here. Here we go. It'll restart. So that's what it normally looks like. And then it slows down and slows down and slows down. And now there's an actual narrative behind some of this as well that I actually just posted a video about on my channel today. And it has to do with the fact that what's really going on here is not just Iran actually having the manpower to, for instance, shoot all of these ships down and cause a complete chaos in the strait, but instead, a big part of the story here is that there's an organization called Lloyd's of London, and they are one of the largest insurers of maritime shipping. And what happened is Lloyd's of London, all of the different people, the insurers that would normally insure these boats have pulled out. They said, look, this is too dangerous. We cannot measure the risks and the probabilities of what's happening because, yes, Iran can't shoot every single boat, but any one boat, right, that does get shot down is something that we are having to pay out for, right? So in that case, we just need to pull it and we're not going to even participate in this. And so
Wow.
that has pretty much been the real reason, potentially, why there's been a halt in what's been happening here. And so this has actually prompted a response from the United States of America over the past couple of days. So uh, Trump basically said that he would insure ships that are coming through the entire Persian Gulf, and not only insure them, but he would also have have the U.S. Navy guide them through and protect ships as they go through. Now, obviously, at the scale that we were just looking at, that wouldn't be possible, right? There's no way you could have enough naval carriers to protect every single one of these ships that are coming through. So the real question here is going to be, okay, well, who's going to get access to this insurance? And who's going to get access to this protection from the Navy? And this brings us to another quick statement that I wanted to get from, we've got our favorites here, and they're not our favorites. I just want to, it's a popular news outlet. Hold on, here we go.
No one's more nervous than China. Half their oil imports pass through the Strait of Hormuz. And as of today, the U.S. Navy controls that strait. We already control the Malacca Strait in Southeast Asia, the Strait of Gibraltar, the Suez Canal, and the Panama Canal. The U.S. controls all global shipping choke points. A full naval blockade of China is now possible. Their economy's at our mercy if things ever got saucy. So we're killing two birds with one stone. We stop the number one state sponsor of terror, and we checkmate the Chinese. And on top of that, if this mission's successful, we'll control nearly all of the world. No one's more nervous than China.
So, that was his breakdown of the situation there. It's getting interesting. So, once again, Strait of Hormuz has pretty much come to a little bit of a standstill. Ships are literally just sitting there, nowhere to go. Qatar, they basically did a force majeure. Majeure. I don't really know exactly how to pronounce that or what it fully means, but essentially they've stopped producing some of their oil out of Qatar because they have nowhere to put it. Okay, because now everything's just piling up.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump is going to, try to use the Navy and this developmental finance corporation in the United States to finance the insurance as well as guide ships through, depending upon who. Right, we'll see exactly how that works. One of the things that I've also seen coming out, yeah, very good point, Matthew. We definitely are only getting right one side of the story of what's happening here. This right here was something that I saw come out last night. I don't know exactly how true this is at the moment, but the concept here is that China has suspended diesel and gasoline exports after Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz. Now, obviously, this is about the fact that China is, if this is really happening right now and the Strait of Hormuz is going to be closed for a while, China needs to keep as much of its oil in its country as possible, right? So it's not exporting, right, is not only going to be beneficial to them, but it's going to be hurtful to someone else who needs oil somewhere else. So this whole house of cards here is about to get crazy. I saw reports that in Asia in general, right, because I think it's like 80% of the oil that's coming out of the Strait of Hormuz is going to Asia. There are countries that are basically only going to have so many days left that they can go without having oil that they're importing from the Strait of Hormuz. So now, listen, I'm not an expert in this per se, but when you look at the numbers, Japan gets 90% of its oil from the Strait of Hormuz. That wouldn't be surprising, right? That it might only be days before this starts to have a massive impact on the rest of the world. So, very, very interesting situation right now. It doesn't look like it. It seems like this is only a war that's happening in the Middle East, but this is very quickly going to start to spill over into the rest of the world. Now, anything you want to say?
No, it's yeah, very potentially serious problem. I'm always very curious, much like Matthew said, to see like we're getting a story fed to us, right? So that's the whole thing that I always try to keep a pulse on is that when it is a story and none of us can see, everyone's going to be telling you the best story that benefits them the most, right? So I think that's a very good point that Matthew made. We're try to source sources from all over the place because with something this high stakes, the need for propaganda is at an all-time high.
No doubt, no doubt. If you're enjoying this, this was actually taken out of a piece of our live stream where we go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. If you want to see the full version of this episode, you can click the link in the description down below. But for now, back to the clip. Quickly, one of the things that we did also see is that jet fuel in Singapore is starting to surge up to highs. Okay, so we're starting to see a little bit of the clapback from some of this. I'm almost done talking about this. We'll move forward in just a second. There's a couple other things that I want to touch on. Iran strikes also have put Dubai's real estate potentially in a little bit of a pause. Okay. There's been a lot of memes about this on Twitter, about the fact that you've got a bunch of influencers that are hanging out in places like Dubai, thinking that, obviously that not expecting rather that anything crazy would ever happen like this. But it is happening, and this is having an impact on their real estate market and probably will for many, many years moving forward. As if anyone didn't know, there was a couple of incidents that have happened in the United Arab Emirates and in Dubai specifically. I think some debris, I think, came down and hit a building in Dubai. And so that has been definitely causing some panic as well as fear in the area. Last thing, another piece of this that has not been covered very much that I just saw is that water. is actually one of the biggest things that could also be a problem for the Middle East throughout all of this.
Oh, yeah.
So I had never heard this. I didn't really know this,
Yeah.
but
They don't have water, man.
they have no water. So all of the water in the Middle East is essentially coming from desalination plants, which means they're taking water from the sea, taking the
Mhm.
salt out of it, and then that is the water that they're using. And well, that's going to be a very uh, centralized process where there's only a few different places that this is being done at. And what people are speculating on here is that Iran might start to target these desalination plants. And if they did that, there wouldn't really be any water throughout all of this entire region if they did it in a certain kind of way. So that to me, I mean, these are deserts, right? So it's there's no natural water around.
Mhm.
Um, I thought to myself, I was like, that would be a really big problem because, like, how do you even fix that once it happens? You know what I'm saying? Like, how long would it take?
Humans need water. Like, they really need water. Yeah, so that'll be an interesting thing to follow. I do from a market standpoint, like the people stuff is way more important than any of the market stuff. But from a market standpoint, I think all of this will push people to crypto because if any of these choke points lead to a civilization collapsing, their currency becomes worthless, right? So I think out of that fear, I think a lot of people will try to find some sort of safe haven assets on a global scale. What else does that?
Well, I think there actually has been a response in that regard within Iran itself. There was Iranians increasing self-custody Bitcoin reserves amid
Mhm.
the Iran-Israel war. And there was some data that people were doing looking at the Bitcoin outflows that stalled during their internet blackout. And then I guess how, yeah, I'm not actually sure exactly what this chart is, but this entire report here kind of talks about how Bitcoin becomes the financial lifeboat for Iranian citizens. I believe I saw some things about stablecoins as well being used in this sort of a time. You also have the fact that this country is dealing with massive hyperinflation of their currency and the value of uh, the Iranian rial declining over the past few months and years. So, you know, you definitely can't avoid that conversation with what's happening here. It does play a role, how people are protecting themselves with what little they may have in these situations to do with. Um, but yeah, so 100% a part of the conversation.
Yeah, and I also saw something, and I haven't validated it enough, so definitely do your own research on this, but that Iran was using stablecoins and Tether to try to buy
Oh yeah,
things that they didn't have direct access to. And so that's obviously a big part of this as well. So definitely do your own research on all that.
yeah. I actually had talked about that in a video a few months back, because it was coming up because we were talking about why stablecoins, and why American stablecoins, why the Genius Act. And part of it is trying to get back control over stablecoins, right? Because which stablecoin would Iran have possibly used to evade sanctions? Tether. Okay, so the United States is trying to get Tether off of at least out of the US markets and trying to get more of a control over any access to any form of US dollars. So that's another really important thing about why the Genius Act was so important. That's why the Genius Act got passed with no issues, right? Is because the US really, really wants the United States treasuries that are backing these stable coins to be have demand. And they want any stable coins, any use of American dollars in any sort of a form to be within their apparatus, their legal apparatus, which Tether is not, right? So um hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, because them and Russia were essentially using stablecoins back and forth with one another to settle deals
Mhm.
in trade or whatever. At least the Treasury, right, has actually come out of themselves, and I believe made that accusation.
Here's an interesting comment
Mhm.
on ETH. So ETH will take that spot. It's unlimited funny money, is their perspective. Where I guess they're thinking that ETH will play that role. Interesting to see. You also did mention it's important that there's not a finite supply of ETH, which is interesting, right? Where there'll always be more.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I guess that does kind of, in some ways, make it a little bit of a political thing too. We'll pull up a clip from Chamath a little bit later, talking about some of the issues with why Bitcoin might not be adopted as a central bank
Yeah, but
currency or central bank
isn't
reserve
that not
asset.
kind of defeating the whole point?
Is what not defeating the whole point.
Like when he's saying all this, it's like, well, why do we? Isn't the whole problem the central bank element of it?
For Chamath's statements?
Yeah,
Oh,
like
well, wait then. Well,
okay,
wait, because nobody knows what we're talking about.
okay.
Hold on. Hold on. Couple news stories. Apple yesterday just announced a new MacBook called the MacBook Neo.
Mm.
Okay, so by the way, if you want to hear Chamath talk about Bitcoin, you better stick around. So let me scroll this back and watch this with me because I actually thought this was fast. I was like, what am I looking at exactly? But then eventually I understood what was going on. So watch this real quick.
MacBook Neo, an amazing all-new Mac at a surprising price. To make it, we reimagined how to build a laptop from the ground up, and we used the most recycled material of any Apple product. We started with aluminum because it's light, durable, and just feels really great in your hands. MacBook Neo has a stunning 13-inch liquid retina display for vivid images and sharp details. Its signature Magic Keyboard is super satisfying to use. The multi-touch trackpad lets you click, scroll, swipe, and pinch anywhere on its surface. And the model with Touch ID allows you to instantly.
So I wanted to actually play that. Ben, did you have what was your first reaction to what you saw there?
From which angle? Like the why they did this, the video.
Don't even think about it. What's coming to your mind?
I think it's super funny how this to me is more an expression of their market dominance for when they do something they should have done all along and they're like praised for it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
It's
Yeah.
like this product should have existed for like a decade, but they knew they didn't have to make it because people had money. Now we're all poor.
So my first thought was because I didn't understand the context when I was looking at it. I was just watching this ad and I'm like, it has a keyboard, like it has a trackpad. I mean, what do we like? What are you selling right now?
Mm-hmm.
But eventually I understood. Okay, this is the cheap thing that they're putting out. And last night I was talking to some people and I tried to make the argument that maybe this is what happens. Maybe this is the future of what we're going to see in tech because everyone's talking about like this deflationary aspect of technology, right? And how prices are going to come down. Now, this isn't really a good example because also the product is simply inferior. But imagine we get to the point to where you start to see instead of like prices literally coming down, you just get people having access to the same technology that already existed 5 years ago at a much cheaper price than what it did 5 years ago. And it being packaged in this kind of a way and being like, oh, this is this new thing that's coming out, when really it's like, oh, well, at least now you can get a MacBook for $600, even though that same tech you would have had to pay $2,500 for 5 years ago. So maybe that's what this deflationary aspect of AI and all of this technology starts to look like is like you're getting new product that's old product at a cheaper price. And then everyone else who's got the money to spend, they're the ones who get to capitalize on these huge new innovations that are happening for just the same $2,500 MacBook that you have to pay for now.
Mm.
So anyways,
Yeah.
once again, this isn't really the best example of that.
I think it's decent. Tech is inherently deflationary. And I think that's kind of the whole problem for why they needed a different financial system or why we do need a different financial system, because the entire dynamics that our whole economic system was built upon are radically changing, right? Because now like the rate of deflationary practices are just exponential now because we all can participate in them, right? Like code getting democratized, like people don't fully grasp how crazy that is, right? Because
Talk about what you mean by that.
well basically like a lot of people have opinions on software right now because it was only made by people who could build the software because it was just simply so expensive, because the building something once and maintaining it was just like unlike any other business before. And so now that you or I can go code, like the entire dynamic of the online experience is going to change so dramatically, because think of how many more things are going to be built now where people will take the risk that someone who doesn't have shareholders wouldn't, or right. So like it's a very, very big deal. And I don't think like everything's going to be enhanced, right? So I think why a lot of big software companies are freaking out is because the moat of you can't even touch this space because it'd be too expensive to start, it doesn't really exist anymore. And so that's going to change things so dramatically. Like our world will be like when you think about it right now, right? Like think about how much we take for granted, like the experience of being able to order Uber Eats, right? How it's just become like a very accustomed experience we're all used to. There are going to be experiences like that discovered week over week, right? Because we're building some of them, right? Because you can go solve a problem with a way smaller team, screw over less people because you can just start with a smaller overhead. And so that really does change things pretty dramatically. So if you guys have ever wanted to build something, I would try to think from like a software first angle or the complete opposite, to be honest, because I think that everyone will be looking here. And so I think move now if you can, or go the complete opposite direction.
Yeah, and the cool thing here is that I think some of what you're also uh, illuminating is like if you care about something,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is by far the best time to go out and find or create a business around that thing that you care about.
Totally. Whether it's games, whether it's like music, whether whatever it is, there are massive problems. And sometimes, ironically, like the problem is your competitor, right? And I don't mean like they can beat you. I mean like they've made the industry shit.
Mm.
And so we've talked about this behind the scenes. I'll keep that close to the chest. But like there's people who are like torching the very people that keep their platforms functioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now the thing that you thought was impossible to take on, the people that are using it every day are begging for a life raft to go elsewhere. So there's opportunities everywhere.
No doubt. No doubt. And eventually what's going to happen here is the consumer behavior is going to get more accustomed to like, oh, I can download this thing that's going to solve this very specific problem for me.
Yes. And
And I might be
people are
willing to pay for it.
totally. And people are thinking that like AI will build this stuff in real time. I actually saw a Naval tweet where he basically had said, where is it? He said something to do with gaming. Let me find it real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was going to reply. I was like, I don't agree with you. But then I just like, oh, it's not worth the time. He's not even going to see it. Future games will be made for you on the fly, generating gameplay and content based on your micro engagement. So I don't know if I fully agree with that. Maybe for like story games, but then will the story be that immersive? I've not seen AI tell that compelling of stories yet. Maybe it'll continue to get better. But I also think that people like games because they know they're playing the same game as their friend too. So I'm curious to see how much there is demand for that. Because if every game is different, like you're basically living in a simulation at that point.
That's Inception-like. That's making my mind go crazy because I was just recently listening to this like podcast where this guy was like talking about what is reality and whatever, and it's like there's obviously some objective reality, but then there's also some shared experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's also the fact that people rather are like projecting their experience onto you, right? So I'm trying to come up with a good example. The video game is a great example. Like imagine you're both actually playing the same game, but the world looks different. Or let's imagine in real life, you and I, we see colors. This is always the example that's given. We can all identify the same colors, but what if those colors are actually different?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you can see that's blue and it's blue for me and you, but what if that blue is actually pink? But we wouldn't know because we're both just always seeing blue as pink. Or I'm always seeing blue as pink and you're always seeing blue as blue.
Yeah.
You know,
and then
I mean?
also,
Anyways.
No, totally. And then also like language gets tied into that too. And if you want to go deeper on it, but yeah, that's it. It would be so interesting to see how all of these things develop. But you also like with a lot of the AI expansions that we're talking about, the realities that people are conceiving, like Naval is trying to project into the future. Even if the tech were to continue on its rate of trajectory, we've talked about the bottlenecks of real life things, right? Like policy being a problem, access to resources being a problem, energy, compute. Like all these things will have a role in the progression of these technologies. And so if things don't get like solved soon, I don't know how, like in terms of the geopolitics of the world, like I feel like it's probably going to impact this sector.
For sure. And Naval actually did do a whole talk about some of this stuff on his YouTube. It's called On Artificial Intelligence. And in here, he does make definitely the case to where basically AI will continue to create more demand for software.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, just wanted people to see this. I haven't even fully watched it yet, but it's really always good to listen to what he has to say.
Yeah, he's super interesting.
So another news here is that we had Morgan Stanley come out and say that they're going to be firing 2,500 workers. So Morgan Stanley getting rid of some people. I also saw how like some of the big banks are like cutting down on their lunch allowance.
What? So, what, do they get like a little bit of money for lunch every day or something?
Yes, and it kind of, I think part of it is because like you're in New York and everything's expensive, kind of a thing.
Got it.
So I don't know if it was Morgan Stanley as well, but um, so Goldman Sachs actually upped its late night dinner budget to bankers for $35, also because they're there all the time, right? Because they're literally
Wow.
working, 12 hours a day. So anyways, interesting stuff happening in the banking sector, interesting stuff happening across the market. You're continuing
Yeah.
to see these layoffs.
If you guys got an idea, we say it every time, start moving today, because each time one of these people get fired, there's a lot of very highly competent people that have been trapped in a corporate job that are now going to be desperate. And they're going to try new things they would have never tried before. And so the competition will come from them.
That's a really good point, too. That's a really good point. The competition is going to get higher.
Because they won't be able to get a job, right? There won't be any to go around. So eventually, the smartest person in the room is eventually going to realize, oh, shit, I probably could have done this myself, but I was too afraid. And then
Really
they're
good
going to go
point.
try.
Wow. Yep. Next news item here is going to be something that I didn't see coming. But the New York Stock Exchange owner, which is ICE, a company called Intercontinental Exchange, they just valued the crypto exchange OKX at $25 billion in a new partnership. So they've made a strategic investment in OKX, and they plan to launch new tokenized stocks and crypto futures products. So, the ICE is now acquiring OKX. I think that's a fascinating reality. We're seeing Wall Street go all in on this, even throughout these times, even throughout the bear market. If you've got the Intercontinental Exchange buying a cryptocurrency exchange, guys, this is the future. Okay, like it 100% is the future. They're not making big bets on things that aren't going to last.
No. That's obviously we have to be a lot more patient than we wanted to in crypto to see the kind of price appreciations we wanted, but like the story hasn't changed. It's still being built. People just don't believe it, because if everyone was brought here just simply by price going up, they think that things can't happen unless price is going up.
Hey, you made it to the end of the clip. That means you're probably enjoying this. And if so, just know that you can catch us live every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to see the full version of this episode, you can click the link in the description down below. Otherwise, YouTube thinks that you will enjoy this next.